Have we really learned our lesson from the Holocaust? Hey friends, Michael Brown here. We come into Thanksgiving week, but the times really are urgent. And I must sound the alarm. I must shout from the rooftops. You say it's redundant. We're hearing the same thing. We need to hear it over and over and over because things continue to go in a shocking, dangerous direction. I don't know if you know about the phenomenon on TikTok where Osama bin Laden became a big hit. Osama bin Laden, one of the worst terrorists of the last 100 years, one of the worst terrorists in history in terms of what he carried out, demonically inspired mass murderer, became an internet sensation, a TikTok viral hero. Yeah, one social media influencer happened to read his letter to America, which had been on the Guardian website for many, many years. This is where he explained why they were doing what they were doing and attacking these evil colonizers. And this young woman read it and was like, wow, I'm having an existential crisis. I mean, now I'm really finding out the truth about our nation. Another video, she said, basically thank God for TikTok because that's when we're getting the true information. I mean, it's painful to read that. It's painful to think that's where she thinks the truth is coming from, where the indoctrination and the propaganda is extraordinary. And remember, TikTok is under the auspices of communist China, and there is no TikTok in China. Oh, why is that? Yeah, so I'm not downing the person or criticizing. That's why I'm not mentioning her name. But this is so typical today that young people have been raised in this environment of evil America, and even more, evil Israel, evil Israel, evil Israel. So while news is reporting how the IDF is slaughtering babies in the Al-Shifa hospital, killing all the newborns, or they're all dying, and slaughtering babies and children, these reports are getting out through various media outlets or social media outlets. In reality, Israel, once they take over the hospital, which Hamas had used as a terror base as well as a hospital, that they're evacuating the babies needing urgent care, because that's what Israel would do. But no, everything is topsy-turvy. Everything is upside down, and Jew hatred is rising in significant and ugly ways around the world. There's even been a tiff between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens, which we'll talk about, not as gossip columnists. I'm not here as a gossip columnist, like, oh, if I mention certain names, it'll get more clicks. No, I'm here to bring more light than heat. But this is the day in which we're living. Elon Musk has been blasted. In fact, guys, get the graphic ready. I want to put this up. This is on Drudge Report. Yes, Drudge Report is intentionally sensationalistic, and that's how it's drawn in viewers for so many years. But look at this Drudge Report graphic. I want to put it up for you, and for those that are watching. And I mean, there's Elon Musk and the Jewish star and the imagery of you associate Nazi, anti-Semitism, and all this. Elon Musk being accused. Now, in this case, it seems to be an overreaction. But what's happening around most of the world right now is anything but overreaction. What's happening around most of the world should get our attention. What's happening in America should get our attention. And yes, I'll keep shouting at the top of my lungs to make sure we get it. Let's listen first, though. Let's just put aside the Elon Musk controversy, and then we'll get into real issues, real meaty issues, life and death things unfolding in front of our eyes. Let's listen first to Ben Shapiro's take on this because I believe it's accurate and fair.
Well, they just have some legitimate grievances. Some of the same dynamic has been striking Elon Musk over the course of the last 24 hours. So Musk made a rather large Twitter boo-boo last night. Somebody on Twitter posted the following message, quote, Jewish communities have been pushing the exact kind of dialectical hatred against whites that they claim to want people to stop using against them. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest bleep now about Western Jewish populations, coming to the disturbing realization that those hordes of minorities that support flooding their country don't exactly like them too much. You want truth said to your face? There it is. So that was the tweet. Musk then tweeted, you have said the actual truth. And this set everything ablaze. So it is true, obviously, that certain Jewish organizations have bought into and promoted things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, which are gross distortions of the American dream. Nobody hates DEI more than I do. There are certain Jewish groups that are liberal in orientation who have supported that sort of stuff. Many of those groups have also pushed for open borders. It is also true that some of those organizations are now realizing post-October 7th that actually open immigration for people who hate Jews on an intersectional basis was pretty stupid. The problem with the original tweet is that it labels Jewish communities en masse. So my community, for example, pretty Jewish, has always opposed DEI and open borders. In fact, most Orthodox communities do. Presumably then, Musk was reading the term Jewish communities and instead seeing the letters ADL. And indeed, that's exactly what Musk then clarified. He said, quote, the ADL unjustly attacks the majority of the West, despite the majority of the West supporting the Jewish people in Israel. This is because they cannot, by their own tenets, criticize the minority groups who are their primary threat. It is not right, and it needs to stop. And then Musk continued, you are right that this does not extend to all Jewish communities. It is not just limited to the ADL. So that's a much more specific point, and it's certainly true. There are a lot of liberal Jewish organizations that supported a lot of the same policies that have now imported a lot of people who really hate Jews and Westerners into the West. And a lot of the very same people who are pushing DEI intersectional politics are now realizing the wages of that. That's true. The original tweet was wildly overbroad. But a huge number of people in the media decided now was the time to link Musk and the alt-right and the so-called Jewish question and support the notion that Musk is some sort of crypto-Nazi. Now, it's not a coincidence, again, that a lot of the people doing just that are happily calling for Israel to cease fire in its war with Hamas. See, very often anti-Semitism becomes a political football. When you can hang the label on Donald Trump or Elon Musk and you're on the left, you do it. However, when you're forced to denounce pro-Hamas protesters shouting from the river to the sea, Palestine must be free, suddenly you get a little shy. Thus, the same media, leaping on both Trump and Musk, has been downplaying the open Jew hatred at massive pro-Hamas protests around the globe, instead propagating lies about Israel's supposed human rights violations. Instead, they're focusing in on their political enemies like Trump and Musk and deeming them the acolytes of Hitler. Meanwhile, the actual Hitler acolytes who are out there waving Mein Kampf, they're like, those people, they are oppressed and brown. It might have more bite to hit Trump and Musk for supposed anti-Semitism if these people actually spent some actual time talking about the people who actually like Hitler on planet Earth, who are right now holding some 240 Jews and others hostage in Gaza and killed 1,200 people and have subjected the Gaza Strip to complete hellish tyranny for the last 20 years. But a lot of these same people are totally silent. In 1 second, we'll talk about their silence because their silence is absolutely deafening.
All right, so yes, I believe what Ben Shapiro is saying there is accurate, that Elon Musk made a mistake in the way that he simply repeated something because there was all kinds of nuance to the statement that he wanted to make, and he did make that subsequently. But either way, he's the bad guy. And then he's launched this thermonuclear, in his description, lawsuit against Media Matters, so a left-wing media outlet, and saying that they completely misrepresented him. And the way that they posted things and the impression that they gave is that all of these anti-Semitic posts are coming up, et cetera, and it's driving advertisers away. These massive advertisers stepped away, and he said it's they completely misrepresented things. And based on the data he's presenting, you better believe it was a complete misrepresentation. Okay, so yes, there's all kinds of junk and hate speech on Twitter. Elon Musk said that's what you have to have in a free forum, that people can say what they want to say, whether we like it or not. Put that aside, it has brought up to the surface, and this is the accurate part. So it seems to me that Elon Musk is being overly demonized here. There are others who know him, even Jewish leaders who know him, say he's not anti-Semitic. That's not the issue. But for sure, what's coming up to the surface, and I see it every day on Twitter and social media, is ugly, is vicious, is angry, is Jew-hating. I'm even seeing it from professing Christians. I'm seeing it from professing Christians as well. And they're buying the propaganda against Israel today. And let me say this as circumspectly as I can. Please don't react. Please hear me, and especially if you're a pastor, leader, or if you're a theologically minded believer and think about these issues a lot, please step back. Don't react. I'm making an appeal, all right, as one brother to another brother or sister. Step back and give this some prayerful consideration. Why is it that the Christians who hold to a theology saying that Israel today is not connected to biblical prophecy, who hold to a theology that says that covenantal Israel ended in the year 70 when the temple was destroyed, or who hold to a theology that in some way says that the promises that were once given to the children of Israel now apply to all believers through Jesus and no longer apply to the Jewish people. So whatever way you get to this, you end up saying that Israel today is not connected to biblical prophecy. You end up saying that in some way there is not a national future promised by God to Israel, however you come up with that. So in my view, one form or another of replacement theology, even if you don't like that term, why is it that without fail, what I'm seeing on social media, the ones quickest Christians who are quickest to criticize Israel, demonize Israel, believe all kinds of false and misleading and demonizing reports about Israel are, among Christians, those who hold to one form or another of this theology. Whereas those who recognize that the God who scattered the Jewish people is the God who regathered them, those who recognize that Israel today is directly connected to biblical prophecy and that Jesus is coming back to a Jewish Jerusalem, those who recognize those things, even while they may be caring for Palestinians and standing with Palestinians as well as Israelis, even while they may have valid criticism of Israel, even though those things may be true, they still will not demonize the nation as a whole. Why is that the case? And why is it? It's those who held to one form or another of replacement theology through history have been the ones who have been prone to anti-Semitic words, anti-Semitic deeds, and even violence against the Jewish people. If you've not yet read my book, Our Hands Are Stained with Blood, get the updated 2019 edition if you haven't. By all means, get the book. I just want to urge you. I feel that it is not fair or right for you to go on in your own life with God without having the information. And if I had the power to press a button and download the information into every single person and pay to do it, I would gladly do it. If you don't have the book, go out and get it. Our Hands Are Stained with Blood. You can get it in physical form. You can get it in Kindle form, ebook form. You can get it in audio form. Take this book in and then have the conversation with me. See if when we dive into Scripture and dive into church history, it doesn't affect your perspective. Yes, salvation is only through Jesus. Jews need Jesus the same as Gentiles. And in the Lord, we are absolute equals, Jew and Gentile in Jesus. We need each other, 100%. But that does not mean that God is finished with Israel. Oh, friends, we need to have our eyes opened wide.
Are you tired of feeling run down, constantly battling colds, flu, and infections? Trivita's elderberry with zinc and vitamin C is here to give your immune system the boost it needs. Trivita's elderberry, zinc, and vitamin C supplement is a 3-in-1 capsule scientifically formulated to support your immune system naturally. Did you know that black elderberry fruit possesses powerful antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and antiviral compounds? Because of its natural properties, elderberry has been shown to reduce the severity and duration of respiratory infections such as the cold and influenza. Vitamin C and zinc are powerful antioxidants that help protect our cells from oxidative stress and damage caused by free radicals. Immune cells are particularly susceptible to oxidative stress, so maintaining optimal vitamin C and zinc levels helps support the healthy immune cell function. Elderberries have been cherished for centuries for their wellness benefits, and now Trivita has harnessed the immune system supporting power in every bottle of Trivita's elderberry, enhanced with zinc and vitamin C to help you fight off colds, flu, and infections. Now is the time to boost your immune system and the immune systems of those you love with Trivita's 3-in-1 elderberry, zinc, and vitamin C supplement today.
To order elderberry with zinc and vitamin C for yourself, call 1-800-771-5584 or online at Trivita.com. Order today and use promo code BROWN25 to receive 25% off your order. As a new customer, 100% of your order proceeds from your first order will go to support the Line of Fire radio broadcast. 1-800-771-5584 or online at Trivita, Trivita.com.
Welcome back to the Line of Fire. Hey, can I give you a holiday gift suggestion if you want to make a healthy investment in your family? Maybe not the only gift you get, but a supplemental gift. Go online, go to trivita.com, or better still, call 800-771-5584, 800-771-5584. If you go online to trivita.com, be sure to use the code BROWN25 and order one of the products you've been using. If you've never used it, check out what's there. I use daily nitric oxide, Myo Health, Nopalea, ashwagandha, a bunch of great Trivita products I use on a daily basis. So get some for Christmas presents. You'll get them in plenty of time, or Hanukkah presents if you like. You'll get them in plenty of time, and it'll be a health blessing. It'll encourage folks to take better care of their bodies. And then you're also blessed the Line of Fire, because Trivita, along with you, our listeners, is a co-sponsor. So 100% of your first gift, your first order, goes as a gift to the Line of Fire, and more than a tithe of all subsequent orders. So those that have been using it, continue to use it as we've been working with Trivita this last year. I know it's been a blessing to you. So let it be a blessing to others as well. That's 800-771-5584. Okay. The controversy with Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro. I don't follow Candace Owens closely. She came to prominence a few years back as a young conservative Black American thinker, and really got a good-sized following, working with Turning Point USA, then being platformed on Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro's platform, and become very prominent in certain circles through it. Now, of course, all of us who are public figures are loved and hated, so she's got her detractors as well as her supporters. But over the months, I don't read her stuff or watch her videos, but I just see some clips here and there, and there were comments that were made and things that seem to be sympathetic to standard anti-Semitic tropes. In other words, standard exaggerations or stereotypes or statements that demonize the Jewish people as people. Or when her friend Kanye West, now known as Ye, when he said some things that crossed very, very ugly lines and were clearly in the category of anti-Semitism, Jew hatred, that she didn't stand back from him. In fact, she seemed to be with him. And so there have been concerns. Now with the war in Israel, she's really crossed some lines. Some have said, well, Dr. Brown, did you reach out to her personally? I don't have access to her personally. I did include her in anything public that I've said, and anything public I've said or written was asking for clarification. Others that have a history with her, like David Horowitz, who helped bring her to national attention, he's blasted her very clearly and said goodbye. And it remains to be seen what will unfold here with Daily Wire and Candace Owens. I have some contacts within Daily Wire leadership and other, but none to connect me directly with Candace, because she's doing what she's doing in terms of her own lane. In any case, it's not to condemn her as a human being. It's simply to ask for clarification. So she made some very wrong statements, and statements based on ignorance about Israel today. For example, thinking that the Muslim quarter in Jerusalem is the only place Muslims are allowed to live, as opposed to, over history, Christians lived in one part, Armenians lived in one part, Jews lived in one part, Muslims lived in another part, everyone intersecting with one another, but that's just the way they lived and had their communities and things like that. That's all it is. It's not you have to live, Muslims must live here. No, at all. So things like that. But then statements where she hasn't clearly understood the difference between Hamas intentionally massacring babies and children, raping women, and killing the elderly, hasn't made a clear distinction between that and Israel seeking to defend itself against terror. In any case, Ben Shapiro was asked it was a public setting, but I don't think it was professionally recorded, it just looked like a cell phone recording, what he thought about what she had to say, and he said it was disgraceful and the way she conducted herself. Well, that now goes public, so she responds in public by saying he's been in a bad way emotionally recently and really attacked him on a personal level. Ben Shapiro was attacking her comments. She then turned to attack him. and then further posted about being reviled for the gospel. So posted words from Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount. You're blessed when people persecute you and revile you for his sake and persecute you for righteousness. And then added in another post, Christ is King. We say, well, praise the Lord. She's pointing to Jesus. Oh, I would love to. That would be glorious because he, Jesus Christ, the Messiah, is King. He is Lord. He's King of Kings and he's Lord of Lords. He was born King of the Jews. He died King of the Jews. He's returning King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Absolutely. He is King. Tragically, though, that has been hijacked by various radical nationalist groups, white supremacist groups, Catholic supremacist groups, hyper-Christian nationalists, and it is used also as a Jew-hating, as an anti-Semitic trope. Christ is King is not just proclaiming in a glorious way, we worship you. Let all earth hail the power of Jesus' name and amen to that. Let's shout it out. And yes, I'll shout out to the whole universe. Christ, Mashiach is King. The Messiah is a King. Yes, yes, absolutely. Without shame, without compromise. But it has been hijacked by many. And I was interacting with an Orthodox rabbi. Remember Rabbi Pesach Walicki, who was on the show? We've gotten a lot of views on that video where he gave a perspective from right within Israel. I want you to see his take on this. We were just interacting on social media today, direct messaging, and he said this to me. He said, it was her way of using the Jesus issue to invalidate Ben in the eyes of her audience, pure anti-Semitism. And in other words, from an Orthodox rabbi in Israel, he sees what was happening and what was happening. So this is my appeal. Candace, what do you mean when you make that proclamation, Christ is King? Why did you make it in the context of pushing back against Ben? There was even a citation from the Sermon on the Mount, you can't serve God and money, as if you were playing into the stereotype, the anti-Semitic stereotype that all Jews are money hungry. So this is really important stuff. And for those who say, oh, Brown, what's with you? I'm trying to read something. No, I'm trying to read something into it. I've watched it. Go on our YouTube channel, Ask Dr. Brown, AskDrBrown, on our website, AskDrBrown.org, and type in Fuentes, Fuentes, Nick Fuentes, a white supremacist, hyper-Christian nationalist, even saying that we need a Catholic Taliban. I mean, that extreme. And as he's giving his Jew-hating message some months back, as he's giving his Jew-hating message, the crowd is shouting out, Christ is King, Christ is King. This is a demonizing of something glorious, as if Christ is King means take over society and drive the Jews from power. Listen, you might say, man, you're hypersensitive. I'm anything but hypersensitive. I get lied about every minute of every day. I get misrepresented. I get hated. I get slandered. I get libel. You want to do a whole month of shows where all I do for the entire broadcast is read hateful comments, hateful posts, or play clips of videos of people attacking me? That happens 24/7. I feel bad for the people. I genuinely do. But it encourages me that I'm on the right track. My team over the years has even sent me those things to encourage me that we're on the right track. I'm not being hypersensitive. I recognize what's happening. God's put me as a watchman on the wall. Friends, I've been preaching for over 50 years. I've been carefully documenting Jew hatred, anti-Semitism around the world for over 30 years. And when you read Our Hands Are Stained with Blood, when you read the book, so it's updated from the 1992 edition, but the book itself is the original book, and then with some updatings and improvements and things like that, you'll see what we were saying over 30 years ago. You'll see how we were calling out white supremacist anti-Semitism and black supremacist anti-Semitism, and radical Islamic anti-Semitism and hyper-Christian nationalist anti-Semitism. You'll see how we were calling it out over 30 years ago. There's nothing new under the sun. It's the same demonic spirit, and we need to wake up to reality. We need to understand what's happening in our day, and as followers of Jesus, we need to expose it. We need to denounce it. And if it's gotten close to us, we need to renounce it in the name of Jesus, who is the Messiah and King. Hey friends, Dr. Michael Brown here. Do you remember when people thought I was crazy when I said it's not too late for America, that God can still do something in our country, that there is going to be a pushback, a gospel-based moral and cultural revolution? And do you remember when people thought that you were crazy because you felt the same way, because you believed what I was saying and already felt it in your heart? Well, friends, that pushback is here. The gospel-based moral and cultural revolution we've been talking about for 25 years is unfolding. And we are right in the thick of it. And the Line of Fire broadcast is divinely positioned for such a time as this. Friends, you would be so gratified and blessed as I hear, if you could hear what I hear, testimony after testimony as leaders, young people, old people, moms, dads, students, people from all backgrounds come up to me and say, Dr. Brown, you're providing a template for us. You're providing a blueprint for us. You're showing us how to do this, how to have hearts of compassion, backbones of steel. But friends, it's a joint effort. We do this together. And with your support, we can amplify this broadcast around the nation and amplify this voice to shake the nation. Join our support team today. Become a torchbearer with $1 or more per day. Here's the number to call to sign up. 800-538-5275. That's 800-538-5275. Or go to AskDrBrown.org, AskDrBrown.org, and become a monthly supporter. Click on Donate Monthly Support. I want to immediately give you 2 classic books, Compassionate Father or Consuming Fire, Who is the God of the Old Testament, and Revolution, which will really show you what it means to be a Jesus follower today. Plus, you get free access to our online classes and so much more. Sign up today, AskDrBrown.org. Welcome back, friends, to the Line of Fire. Michael Brown, it's my privilege and honor to be with you on the air. And every day, do my best to infuse you with faith and truth and courage. How many times have you heard me say, we will not get your blood boiling unless we also get your faith rising? That's our purpose. That's our intent. That's our goal. We will sound the alarm. We will shout from the rooftops. We will warn because the days are urgent and because crazy things are happening in our day. Who would have thought that the most horrific attack on the Jewish people in any one day since the Holocaust? Man, you're talking about that a lot. Yeah, I'm talking about it a lot because already, it's just October 7th it happened. For weeks now, people are now denying it. No, it didn't really happen. No, it wasn't that bad. No, Israel did it, actually, and on and on. And the vast, vast, vast majority of Palestinians in the West Bank supporting what Hamas did. And a majority in Gaza, although the numbers in Gaza are not as high. And it could be because they know who Hamas is, and they know the evil of what Hamas does, and they also recognize the retribution this was going to bring against them. But friends, I'm going to keep shouting this out, because who would have thought that within weeks of this horrific bloodbath, even within days, that sentiments would not be turning around the world to Israel, to stand with Israel, to support Israel in their fight against terror. Who would have thought instead that there'd be world sentiments against Israel, that support for Israel in America would be diminishing rather than increasing, that over half of young people surveyed in America, over half felt that what Hamas did was justified, that over 31 student groups at Harvard University put out a joint statement saying that what Hamas did was justified. It was fully the responsibility, that was their emphasis, fully the responsibility of Israel. How many would have thought that crowds of hundreds of thousands in some places like London, hundreds of thousands around the world, not just in Muslim countries, I'm talking about in European countries, would be gathering massive numbers, calling for the obliteration of Israel. Friends, this is happening. This is not make-believe. This is real. This is real. You know, I remember years ago reading about a professional wrestler So everything is scripted in professional wrestling. Oh, they get hurt all the time. And they're smashing each other, and they're in tremendous shape and know what they're doing. But it's scripted. It's make-believe, right? And they know at the beginning who's going to win and how they're going to win. So there's they had to keep upping the ante of sensationalism and things. So there's one guy who's coming in, be kind of like a zip line across the top of the convention center where they're holding their big event, and wherever stadium, wherever the thing was, some big event, and he's coming in by a wire, and the thing malfunctions, and he falls to the ground and dies. And immediately, the host saying, this is not scripted. This is not scripted. Everybody's in a panic. Medics, he died. He died. I believe his name was Owen Hart. People are so used to things being scripted. No, this is not scripted. I heard from a youth pastor who was in Seattle the day of 9/11. The day of 9/11. So we're talking now 22 years ago, almost 23 years ago now. He was, so 9/11, so we're talking 22 years ago right now. So he heads over to the high school where there are a lot of Christian kids because he knows they're going to be devastated because, remember, they're 3 hours behind. So now the news is that they're going to school and they've all heard about what happened. Now, of course, it was across the coast. It was in New York City and it was in D.C. So he goes there, and to his shock, they're not really traumatized. The kids in the school are not really traumatized. They're like, yeah, that was like grade B science fiction. I mean, they're used to seeing such more graphic videos every day in the violent video games they play and the violent shows that they watch, that see in the news, like, what, plane going into a building? What? They didn't get it. It really happened, and they didn't get it. It really, literally happened, and they didn't get it. They didn't understand what was going on. And thousands of people gone, taken from this world, including my wife Nancy's brother, and families left bereaved. Thousands and tens of thousands of people dramatically affected whose lives will never be the same. They didn't understand it. Why? Because they're so used to the make-believe. I remember hearing David Wilkerson preach in the years when I used to preach at Times Square Church, somewhere in the early 90s. It was right after Iraq invaded Kuwait. And then, of course, there was an international coalition that came against Iraq. But Iraq invaded Kuwait, and the Kuwaitis very, very rich. And Wilkerson said there was a picture that he saw. There's a picture that he saw. And there are tanks that are coming right up onto a beach, and they've got their super expensive vehicles there, and the people, fully dressed as the Kuwaitis would be on the beach, lounging at the beach, and the tanks have swept where they didn't know what was happening as they're about to die or be captured, and they're lounging at the beach. This is how many of us are right now. Dr. Brown, you're getting so worked up about this. There is a reason. There is a reason. There were warning signs for years and years and years before the Holocaust. And there were trial runs that the Nazis did to see what they could get away with. Many historians believe that the beginning of the Holocaust is what's called Kristallnacht. So this is November 9th, 1938, the night of broken glass. This is when the Nazis carried out to a T Martin Luther's own recommendations as to how to deal with the Jews that he wrote in 1543. So he declared that their places of business should be smashed down and destroyed, their synagogues set on fire. This is just the beginning of the strategy. Other strategies Luther had was that the rabbis should be forbidden to teach under penalty of death, and they should be herded together in ghettos and deprived of good jobs, and etc. So the Nazis did those things, plus they added extermination to it. But this was also a trial run. It just happened to work out that the next day, by the way, November 10th, was Luther's birthday. And one of the leading German bishops said how providential it was, how great to see the synagogues burning on the birthday of Martin Luther, known as a Jew hater, especially at the end of his life. So the Nazis wanted to see what happened. Yeah, they did what they did because they were hateful, but they wanted to see what happened. The godly Christian woman, Christian leader Basilea Schlink, who stood up courageously to the Nazis and then founded the Evangelical Sisterhood of Mary. So these were Lutheran women who gave themselves to a life of ministry and prayer. She said, everyone should have been out in the streets protesting. Everyone should have been standing with the Jewish community, shouting out. But no, they're silent. Hey, we don't want it to happen to us. And yeah, so the Jews, okay, if it happens to them, at least it's not happening to us. You get in that self-preservation mode. And it's easy enough to happen because, hey, you want your kids to be threatened? You want your family threatened? You want to die yourself? You want your family to die? Zip it. Pray. Just pray for God to help. But don't risk your own life. This is the mentality that allowed the Holocaust to happen in Europe, civilized Europe, civilized Germany, one of the most civilized, educated, cultured societies on the planet. And this is where it happens, with much of Europe complicit to it. We keep shouting it out because these very things could happen again. Because one reason for the modern state of Israel was never again. You say, but isn't Israel at fault with bad security? Yes. And isn't the current government too right-wing? Yes. And doesn't Israel make its own mistakes? Yes. But none that justify the slaughter of innocent women and children and babies and elderly and non-combatant men. Nothing that justifies this. And yet, within a few short days, even within a few short hours, sentiments changed. And radical Muslims standing for the Sydney Opera House in Australia are chanting, "Gas the Jews." And others are chanting, "Hitler was right." And friends, years back, I documented this. There were pro-Hamas protests in America, and protesters standing on the streets saying we need bigger ovens for the Jews. These are not just words, my friend. And I want to emphasize this again. I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago warning that if we did not stand up and speak out, that Jewish blood would be shed in our country. I wrote it here in America, but I was shouting it out for the world to hear. One day later, so I wrote it on a Saturday. It was then posted beginning on Sunday and Monday in different websites, all the different places that carry our articles. I wrote it on Saturday. Sunday it happened. What? Yes, Sunday it happened. There was a pro-Palestinian protest, pro-Israeli counter-protesters. There was a man in his late 60s standing there with an Israeli flag, argument between him and a Palestinian man, happens to be a professor, university professor. The man struck the pro-Israel supporter over the head with a megaphone. This is allegedly what happened. The man fell to the ground, hit his head, and died as a result of his injuries. Jewish blood shed in America with a man dying for standing with Israel, a man dying for standing with Israel. You can shout, you can get verbal, people can do what they do. This man crossed the line, struck him over the head with a megaphone, struck him hard enough that it caused him to fall to the ground without able to control his fall, hit his head, and as a result of the megaphone strike and hitting his head on the ground, he died. I gave the warning on Saturday, it happened on Sunday. So please, my brothers and sisters, hear me. Hear me. Jew hatred is on the rise in ways we have not seen since before the Holocaust. It's been at that level for many years, by the way. But now it has upped. Now it has increased in ways that we have not seen since those horrific days when it was full-blown during the Holocaust. And remember, right now, the number one highest percentage of hate crimes against any group in America, just research it for yourself, it is against Jewish Americans. Are you saying Jews go to heaven without Jesus? Who's even talking about that? Who's even talking about? Why throw out that red herring? I've given my entire life in ministry, decades of my life, and endless prayers and efforts to reaching Jewish people with the gospel of Jesus, knowing that is the most urgent need, and there is no salvation for anyone, Jew or Gentile, outside of Jesus Yeshua. I say that categorically, emphatically, without shame, without apology. Let's not switch subjects here. I'm talking about a horrific, dangerous, unprecedented rise of Jew hatred worldwide, of demonizing Israel, not fair criticism of Israel, but demonizing of Israel, and believing lies and propaganda against Israel. This is happening on our watch. What are you going to do? What are we going to do together? All right, I got one more segment, much more to cover, And I want to make an appeal to you, friends, to stand together with me, because this is the time. We have come into the kingdom, friend, for such a time as this. Share this with a friend. We will be right back.
In a world filled with many health challenges, your immune system is your shield, your protector to fight off viruses, infections, and foreign invaders. This is Michael Ellison, founder of TriVita Wellness. Fortifying your immune system defense is crucial, especially this time of year, to help keep you healthy and vibrant through the winter months. I would like to introduce to you TriVita's elderberry supplement with zinc and vitamin C. It's a power-packed weapon to support your immune defense, and elderberry has been used for centuries to support overall wellness. Now, we've harnessed its incredible antioxidant health benefits along with zinc and vitamin C. Zinc is known as the immune gatekeeper, with its anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties to help regulate immune function. Vitamin C is vital to the function of white blood cells in fighting infections and viruses. Plus, studies show increased consumption of vitamin C helps reduce risk of chronic inflammatory conditions. Our formula, it's been carefully crafted to provide an optimal synergy with the elderberry extract along with zinc and vitamin C to help you get the most out of this incredible natural product. You will be supporting a stronger immune defense, healthier blood vessels, wound healing, and support your brain health with TriVita's elderberry with zinc and vitamin C, and it is available to you today with a special promo code discount.
To order elderberry with zinc and vitamin C for yourself, call 1-800-771-5584 or online at TriVita.com. Order today and use promo code BROWN25 to receive 25% off your order. As a new customer, 100% of your order proceeds from your first order will go to support the Line of Fire radio broadcast. 1-800-771-5584 or online at TRIVITA.com.
Welcome back, friends, to the Line of Fire broadcast. I hope you have a blessed Thanksgiving with your family. We're playing a best of show on Thanksgiving, so those who just have to listen, sit around, listen to with the family together, enjoy the broadcast. As you see, I haven't taken calls today, just so much I want to talk to you about. You know, it says in Zechariah 12, then it says in Zechariah 14. So Zechariah 12 and Zechariah 14. It says there that at the end of the age, God will bring all nations up to fight against Jerusalem. It's his way of the final purging of his people, Israel. It's his way of bringing us to the end of ourselves so that we look to him. And it's his way of bringing judgment on the nations. Okay, you hate Israel, you hate the Jewish people. Here's your opportunity to express it, and you're going to be judged for it. Zechariah 12 and Zechariah 14. Read them for yourself. These passages have not yet been fulfilled by any fair method of biblical interpretation, unless you're going to spiritualize away everything, in which case there would be no Jewish people on the earth anymore, but here we are. There would be no Jerusalem on the earth anymore, but here it is. There would be no modern state of Israel anymore, but here it is. Can't spiritualize any of that away. Unless you spiritualize it away in a way, in a method of interpretation that the New Testament ultimately does not support, then the fact of the matter is you have to recognize this has not yet come to pass, but it will. And what we're seeing now is just how real that could be. Support, let me say this again, support for Israel in America has been waning, especially among young people who grew up with a notion that Israel is the evil occupier, that Israel is the terrible Goliath battering the poor, helpless Palestinians, and that if you side with justice, if you side with truth, if you side with the underdog, then you side with the Palestinians against Israel, as opposed to having a balanced view, understanding the whole history, and saying, hey, we want what's best for everyone involved, and we understand the odds against Israel as a nation from its inception, and Israel's need to defend itself. Now, here's a way that we think there could be equity for anyone. That's a whole different discussion and mentality. But there was a time when America was not as pro-Jewish. There was a time when there were quotas and how many Jews would be let into different universities. discrimination against Jews in America does not compare with discrimination against blacks in America historically. Obviously not. I mean, we're talking apples and elephants, as I like to say, just complete different categories. If we talk about Jewish suffering worldwide, through history, then we can compare that to suffering of African Americans, etc. But obviously, America's not always been so strongly pro-Jewish and even as strongly pro-Israel. So thank God for evangelical Christians who recognize the evils of past church history and recognize the dangers of bad theologies and now work together to stand with Israel. Yes, praying for Israel's salvation, but standing together with the state of Israel and saying, we love you, we care for you, we're with you, we're supporting you, we're helping you. Oh, that's making a massive difference. Rabbis, Jewish leaders have told me freely, right on this broadcast, the difference that evangelical Christian love has meant for helping Jewish people see Christianity and see Jesus in a different light because there's so much baggage in church history. But let's remember, friends, we're fighting a demonic spiritual phenomenon. To say it again, when Jews are rich, we're hated. You Jews are trying to control everything, take over the world. When Jews are impoverished, like as in Fiddler on the Roof and through much of our history, Jews are worthless. When Jews don't fight back during the Holocaust, just going as sheep to the slaughter, so many. I mean, some did fight back, the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising and others, but overwhelmingly, how can we fight back or what can we do? You're just weak. You're weak. Why don't you Jews fight? Then we do fight back against terror. You're committing ethnic cleansing. You're guilty of genocide. When Jews are religious, we're hated. You're just different. You think you're better than everybody. When Jews are secular, well, you're just trying to fit in. We know you Jews. It doesn't matter. There's Islamic anti-Semitism, there's Christian anti-Semitism, there's atheistic anti-Semitism, there's communist anti-Semitism, fascist anti-Semitism, you name it. And the craziest, most ridiculous, impossible to believe stories told about the Jews through this evil, miserable Jews. It is a demonic spirit we're ultimately fighting, friends. And I urge you to open your eyes to it, because here's the deal. We can't rely on the UN to stand with Israel. Oh, to the contrary, in our hands are stained with blood. We documented carefully, document UN anti-Semitism. Going back for decades, I documented it in 1992 and I updated it in 2019. Documented. If you don't believe me, go to unwatch.org, unwatch.org. And if you want to know what Palestinian media is actually saying, if you want to know what Palestinian media is actually saying, go to palwatch.org. That's Palestinian Media Watch, palwatch.org, and read it for yourself. In fact, I'm just going to go there right now, palwatch.org, right? palwatch.org, and look at this. Oh, Hamas threats to cut off heads, slit throats, and slaughter every Jew on the planet in 2019 were ignored. 2019, they were shouting this out. PA calls for unity with Hamas, Palestinian Authority. Our arms and hearts are open to Hamas. This is the so-called peaceful Palestinian Authority, the one that Israel is supposed to work with. So and why are things so bad in the West Bank when Palestinian Authority leadership just complies with Israel? PA calls for unity with Hamas. Our arms and hearts are open to Hamas. And on and on. This is actual quotes. Stuff going out in Palestinian media. Stuff that kids are learning in their schools. Out of the horse's mouth. Why do you think there's so much hostility? And there are many Muslims that believe this around the world. Thank God for maybe you're a moderate Muslim listening right now or watching, and that's not your heart, your sentiment. But I see the hate every single day. We have to block people on social media every single day. If we had a staff to do it, it would be probably by the minute coming in with venomous, hateful stuff. Here's another site you can go to, memorytv.org. Memorytv.org. Say, Dr. Brown, I don't have time to go to all these places. Well, we do, and we'll supply you with the information that you need. Oh, let's see. Spokesman of the Houthi Yemen military forces announces our military forces will not hesitate to target any Israeli ship in the Red Sea. Iranian General Ali Reza Balali, we have achieved deterrence with our missiles, anti-aircraft weapons, etc. We have superpower. The memory TV is throughout the entire Muslim world, actually going to TV clips. And it could be in Saudi Arabia. It could be in Iran. Clips preaching in mosques, what's being said. Watch it with your own eyes. Indiana Imam Sheikh Manji al-Quesni, the Jews have no mercy, yet they keep bugging us about 6 million Jewish people burned in the Holocaust. This is the rhetoric that's out there, friends. I'm sounding the alarm. It's urgent. Now, here's what I want to encourage every one of you to do. God has raised this ministry up for such a time as this. God has raised the line of fire up for such a time as this. We are developing a brand new broadcast by which we plan to blanket America beginning early in 2024. Yes, this is happening as I speak, to launch in January of 2024, hopefully January 1st of 2024. A new specific equipping broadcast, which is going to be so impactful. Yes, we'll keep our 1 hour talk with you and live calls and all of that and being a prophetic voice, but by looking at what's happening in the world and seeking to bring you a divine perspective. But we have a brand new special edition of the Line of Fire that's going to get out. And I believe as it does, believers are going to be encouraged and strengthened, and faith is going to rise. We're going to start pushing back. We're going to start making a difference. And we're going to stand up as one saying, enough is enough. Enough is enough. So here's how you stand with us. It's not about me. It's not about our ministry. This is about the nation. This is about the world. This is about the salvation of the Jewish people. This is about the honor of God. This is about the kingdom of God. This is about your own life. Because, friends, if you don't stand here, you're going to get hit from another angle. If we don't stand together here, the war's coming against us one way or another. We don't want to make the famous error of Martin Niemöller. You know, when they came for the Jews, I didn't speak up. Pastor Martin Niemöller in Nazi Germany, when they came for the Jews, I didn't stand up because I didn't speak up. I wasn't a Jew. And they came for the communists. And for this one, I didn't stand up because it wasn't any of them. And then when they came for me, there was no one to stand up for me. That's going to happen. That's going to happen unless we stand and speak. So let's do this together. And you're holding my arms up. I'm holding up the arms of others, and together strength is coming in the nation. Faith is rising in the nation. Believers are pushing back, and we're going to push back together against this vile Jew hatred, and we're going to stand together for the protection of Israel, for the salvation of Israel, and for God's best for those throughout the Middle East. So I'm asking each one of you now to join our support team. It's time to make a difference together. Friends, the hour is urgent. The darkness is getting darker and spreading, but light is shining. And together we're going to push back the darkness in the name of Jesus, in the name of Yeshua. So right now, go to AskDrBrown.org. 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 Click on Donate Monthly Support. The moment you do, I'm sending you free books to bless you, edify you, strengthen you. So right off the bat, boom, we're making an injection of faith and truth and courage in you. Then we've got all kinds of online classes you'd have to pay for to take the classes. Boom, you get an access code. You can watch them yourself, your family, your congregation over and over and over to your heart's content. Exclusive video content, a new audio message every single month. And then an insider update letter where we share with you what's happening in the ministry. 15% discount in our online bookstore. If you join us on an Israel tour, $300 off your ticket. It's just, we want to pour back into you. So join our support team, $1 a day or more if you're pastor, church leader. Hopefully you can put us on your budget and do more than that. $1 a day or more. Join our support team. Together, we are making a difference. Become a torchbearer. If it's easier for you to call this number, 800-538-5275. 800-538-5275. Say, I want to become a torchbearer. Friends, I'll say it again. Together, we are making a difference. We're pushing back the darkness, but it's urgent. We've got to do it together now.